Hello YouTube. In this video we're going to be watching and listening to Ludovico Einaudi performing one of his own compositions. If you don't know it, this piece has been enormously successful in the piano world. It's entitled Una Matina, which means a morning, and it was featured in a French film by the name of Intouchable. If you haven't seen the film, it's also really fabulous. I highly recommend it. Now, we're going to talk about the music, we're going to talk about his performance, his piano technique, all sorts of things. But before we dive into that, I want to mention something about Einaudi and about this piece, which might shock you if you're not aware of it. I had the good fortune to study at some of the best music schools out there, and I will say, in all honesty, nobody would have ever dreamed of bringing a piece of Einaudi to a piano lesson. Which might explain why there are so many bad performances of this piece, because nobody's actually had a lesson on it. This piece was not considered real music. It wasn't considered art music. It was considered too cheesy, it's corny, it's too sentimental, the harmonies aren't sophisticated enough. And of course, a person can make that argument. But at the same time, I know from personal experience that this piece has meant so much to so many people. A lot of people really love it, and I'd love to hear your comments. What do you feel about this music? And I'm sure that many of you are here because of the fact that you love Einaudi. So would love to hear about your reactions to this music and to his performance in the comments. So let's go ahead and dive right in and listen to Einaudi performing himself, his own composition, Una Matina. Here we go. So this starts off with a little free improvisation here. This isn't quite the piece proper yet, but it already very much sets the mood of this work. And what I want to draw your attention to right away here as we listen to this is the incredible layering of the sound. I think this is one of the most remarkable aspects of this piece. In other words, some of the notes really come out, and some of them are very much in the background. There's an incredible sort of three-dimensionality to this sound. Let's listen to this main theme now. Yeah, and right away we see Einaudi doing something with this piece which so many amateur pianists miss, which is, like I mentioned, an incredible sort of layering. Instead of just having sort of, I mean, these are the notes that we see. If you find the sheet music to this piece, you're going to see exactly those notes, and you're going to see it pretty much without markings. But that's not at all the way he plays. We have this incredible layering of this note, and the ones on the top being much less. And there's actually a very interesting layering in two different dimensions. So there's this sort of vertical dimension, which means that if I stack the notes vertically, I have more here and less up here. But there's also a really interesting layering in a horizontal sense, meaning that as we move through time, the way he's shaping those notes is very alive. Let me show you what I mean. So first of all, let's start with the horizontal aspect. More here, less. So there's a definite big difference. I'm not doing this. They're not equal. I have more here and less here. Now, let's talk about the horizontal dimension. He does this really cool thing where the A down here is sort of, it gets softer and softer as time goes on. So we get bum, 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 bum. You hear how it's like a ricochet almost. And you see so many amateur performances of this piece where people just play the notes exactly the same. And that really, I mean, if you play it like that, then sure, the music is very uninteresting actually. But add this layering to it, this three-dimensionality or four-dimensionality, you could say, and the music suddenly becomes much more alive and really cool. What we also hear in this is when we get this phrase that really leads us back into so we get a big crescendo, da-da-da-da-da-dum, and then this ricochet effect where the notes start out strong and get less and less. Really cool. Let's continue on. So much difference in those A's. I mean, in fact, some of the notes are practically inaudible when he plays like this. These top notes, we barely even hear them. It's just like a little bit of garnish on the top. And that kind of control, it's really impressive in his sound. And we're going to talk about his technique in just a second, because he does some cool things with his fingers themselves that kind of lend themselves and help him get that kind of layered sound out of the piano. So if I pause the video right here, let's talk for a second about his hands. The notes that he's emphasizing in the right hand, you'll see that his fingers here are much more curved, which means that when he drops his weight into the keys, that energy is going directly into the piano keyboard. Whereas his left hand, it's a little bit blocked here by the right hand, but the left hand is much flatter, which means that the energy is going to be much more dispersed. And so we often do this automatically, at least professional pianists do this, that in the hand which has the singing melody, which is normally the right hand, we have more curved fingers. The notes that we want more in the background are much flatter. Now, when we listen to the layering of the sound here, he does something that I'm always talking about in my piano course, which is the emphasis of the bass and the melody and the notes in the middle being a lot less. So I have this in the left hand. Listen to the way that he brings out those bass notes, and all of this is much softer. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking, well, this is all bass, right? This is all left hand, so it's all bass. No, the bass is the deep notes, and this really here in the middle is harmonic filler. So we combine these strong bass notes with the right hand, which is really into the keys and really singing, something like... And he does a cool thing here also in the right hand where he does da 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 da. He emphasizes the B much more than the A. And bass. Let's listen to some more of that incredible layering from Einaudi, this sound. I mean, those notes in the middle, these ones, you barely actually hear them. There's so much in the background. And did you see, by the way, in the moment where he goes da 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 da, where he wants to bring out these notes, his fingers in the left hand automatically go into a more curved position. It's really, really intuitive and excellent piano technique on the part of Einaudi. And I have no idea, maybe some of you know, but I haven't looked into it, what his background is. It seems to me apparent that he's had some good training as a pianist because he does really intuitively many good things from a technical perspective. His posture is great, his hand position is great, and his control of sound is just really number one. Continuing on. And there seems to be, by the way, sort of a synth layer in the back, which helps create this kind of atmospheric sound. It's mostly piano, but there is a little support from some sort of synth in the background. You probably hear that as well. Yeah, and you know here, when he's playing, the music is never ever static. And this is something I'm always talking about with beginners. You cannot just play this and just keep going. Now, you don't see those things in the music. When you look at this score, when you look at the music for this piece, it does not say this note more and this note less and all of this stuff. You just have to do that because it's part of being a good musician. You have the freedom, and not only the freedom, you have the necessity of doing it. You have to do this or the music just really doesn't work. So, you know, I'm starting stronger and backing off. And then here, same thing. Now, in some cases, it doesn't even really matter what you do. People might quibble about, should I make a decrescendo? Should I make a crescendo? It doesn't even really matter that much. What matters is that it's going somewhere, right? It has to have movement. It has to be alive. And that's really, really important in this piece, because otherwise, you know, you're just doing this, you're going to bore the audience, you're going to bore your listeners within 5 seconds. People say it doesn't change, the notes are always the same. And it's true that harmonically speaking, this piece is not super advanced or interesting, frankly. I mean, if we listen to sections like this, we really just have 3 chords and they're just moving up the scale. F major, G major, and A minor. This chord, this one, And this one. All right, and then it repeats. It does the same thing. And it's all diatonic, meaning we don't have any sharps or flats added pretty much in the entire piece, I think. And so if you're not careful, this is a thing that you have to remember about playing minimalist sort of music like this. It's kind of new agey, kind of minimalist. It repeats a lot. Very, very important that the music is not played in a flat way. Now, especially if you're playing this as a piano solo. I mean, it's one thing if it's background music in a film, but even more so if you're playing it as a piano solo, it has to have this life. It has to keep the attention of the listener. In a film, at least you have something else going on, right? But if everybody's just watching the piano performance, the last thing you want to do in any of this is just keep it too static. And like I said, people see that there are no markings in the music and they think, I don't need to do so much, or maybe it doesn't occur to them. But think about that and watch what Einaudi does here, because it's all over the place. The music is never, ever static. Let's keep going. You know, he has this incredible range of sound. There are notes here that really come out, and there are ones that are almost inaudible. And here he's improvising a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's a really great exercise in control, this bum, 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 bum. Sometimes I ask students, take a note and see how many different dynamic levels you can get on one single note. And Einaudi, listen to the way he does that. It's really impressive. The other thing that probably occurs to you in this, and a lot of amateurs make this mistake as well, he lets us wait in between these phrases. Right? He never rushes that. A lot of people, when they're learning to play piano, they rush through those sections because I think they sort of intuitively think people are going to get bored if I don't continue on. If there's just silence there for so long, people are going to get bored. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. If you rush through those places, it takes away all the sense of tension, all the sense of what's going to happen next. You have to keep people hanging. And so it's much, much better to wait too long than not to wait long enough in those places. Look at the curved right hand here and the much more flat left hand. A lot of phrasing and shaping in the right hand here. Yeah, and this is a kind of phrasing in a way that's not very classical. We have notes that are kind of punched out. Whatever it might be. We wouldn't normally do this in a classical phrase. In a classical phrase, we would typically keep the notes more connected with one another. So ya da 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 da. We wouldn't do da da da. So it has a definite element of kind of poppiness to it, and this kind of, it's not really classical music in any sense. It's more of sort of pop, new agey. I don't even know how you would describe it. Film music, minimalism a bit. But this kind of phrasing, it's interesting to think about and to take a look at how he does that. It's, like I said, it's very kind of edgy. There are a lot of syncopations, da-da-da-da-da, these things that come in between the beats that he really emphasizes quite a lot. You notice also, by the way, when his left hand finishes a phrase, it automatically comes into this relaxed position, and that's really good in terms of piano technique as well. So the technique here, really spot on. And again, such incredible control of sound. Those notes almost disappearing into nothingness. It's also really interesting when you consider from a harmonic perspective in this piece, we're in the key of A minor, but we never have that one chord, which we always say is the most important chord apart from our one chord, which is our 5 chord. We never actually get an E major chord like the dominant of A minor. So that's kind of what gives this piece also its very just sort of floating character, the feeling that we never sort of actually arrive. Let's keep going. And there you see him even sort of drawing the fingers in like this. This is a great way when you want to play soft sounds to keep the notes from getting too loud, because instead of the sound really transferring directly into the key, it's going to sort of gradually touch those, it's going to gradually depress those keys a lot slower. And you see him, again, it just seems to be very, very natural with his piano technique. Great playing. And again, keeping us waiting so much for those last notes. So really playing up the drama of this piece. In terms of piano playing, really, really nice in terms of the layering and the control of the sound. Don't forget, there's so much you can do with this piece if you're performing it. Never perform it flat. Keep those things in mind. Great performance by Ludovico Einaudi. Let me know what you think of Ludovico Einaudi and this piece and his playing in the comments. Can't wait to see you again soon. Happy practicing, everybody.